This verdict really just goes to show how much women are really truly not believed
Well,
when they are
what if they're not telling the
experiencing.
truth?
So the verdict is in, not guilty on the major charges. A lot of people who have been holding their breath now they could speak.
Extent to convict someone who's on a video beating the living snot out of the woman. That tells you all you need to know about the case. The media and people, lawyers, plaintiffs' lawyers who wanted to sue him said, oh, she's so convincing. It's hard to feel sorry for.
They could speak. They could speak because a lot of people have not commented on this Diddy trial, especially a lot of people who you would think are close to Puff Daddy. A lot of them have been silent about the situation, and now that he's found not guilty on on the major charges, the RICO charge and racketeering charge, like which.
It's hard to feel sorry for a woman who's instructing a sex worker on how to urinate in their mouth and telling her how to do it. And the Punisher, who
major charges, the RICO charge and racketeering charge, like which could have possibly kept him behind bars for the rest of his life.
And the Punisher, who I think is just an absolute star, explained this in to such a point of view. I would threw my hands up because I literally go, I don't know, you can't have better testimony than that, other than when Jane.
So now that he's not being found guilty on those charges, a lot of people seem to want to speak how they authentically felt, you know, because I feel like if you were somebody who actually supported Diddy, you got to be bold to be able to do that in the public eye.
Testimony than that, other than when Jane said she thought that P. Diddy was a cuckold. And if the prosecution, if they didn't think they had to do it, the defense didn't think they had to do it, they could have called, you know, any head of the human sexuality department and said, tell us about the swingers lifestyle, tell us about.
You got to be bold to be able to do that in the public eye. That is why I got to give Kanye West his credit, because I believe amongst all the people that seem to be cool with Puff Daddy, he's the only one that spoke out publicly in defense of Puff.
Tell us about this, put on the videos. That's clearly what it was. We don't have to guess because the jury has told us they believed what the defense team put out there. And Tenny Garagos from the very beginning set the stage for this, the tenor. This is all consensual. It's nothing coerced. And the jury believed
So, this is crazy. I like Piers Morgan. I watch a lot of his shows. So when he has this panel celebrating about the verdict of Puff Daddy, and you have this woman.
Word of it.
Yeah.
The two convictions are just based upon plane tickets and receipts. That's all. It literally didn't need any testimony from any of the two alleged victims. And I don't know why we're calling them, well, other than the videotape. In this case, they were found not to be victims. They were found to be incredible witnesses, and the evidence from their own mouths and their own fingertips and their own text messages proved that they shouldn't be believed in the jury.
Men and women, we definitely, you know, process information, I think, differently. You know, I think men are very logical.
To just prove that they shouldn't be believed, and the jury obliged them and didn't believe a word they said.
Yes, true. Ariel, in terms of the women you represent with civil actions against Sean Combs, how much?
And a lot of times women, you know, they make decisions based on how they feel, which is not a bad thing.
Verdict affect those? I mean, does it make it more difficult now to win a civil case?
Before I get into that, I want to just address.
This verdict really just goes to show how much women are really truly not believed when
Well, what if they're
are
not telling the truth?
If you not truly are listening to them.
We need both to keep the balance, right? So, according to what Piers Morgan is saying, he asked the lady a question saying, does she sense that something has changed? Like with the timing, saying if this was a couple of years ago, this would have been the end of Puff Daddy, but times has changed and something is different now. Something is.
But who are you to tell somebody?
Well, who are you to tell a jury of 12 Americans?
But
well, you're implying. Hang on, Ariel. Hang on, Ariel.
20 years ago, but you're cutting me off, so we can.
No, you're cutting me off
20
now.
years ago or 10 years ago.
Saying if this was a couple of years ago, this would have been the end of Puff Daddy, but times has changed and
starting to be heard, and now
something is different now. Something is different now. Of course.
Hang on.
Story has to withstand scrutiny.
20 years ago or 10 years ago, as you just said, there was a movement with Me Too where women were actually starting to be heard, and now we're just going back to regular status quo.
No, that's not true. No,
treated as liars and
no, hang on.
You can't really compare the Puff Daddy case to that of R. Kelly, because R. Kelly, the victims of R. Kelly were living. Cassie is a grown woman who can make her own decisions. So that changes the scope of things. I think it changes the scope of things. I think a lot of people, especially women.
Story has to withstand scrutiny.
Hang on one sec. I was going to say, Ariel, just to be clear, they have been heard. Right? They went into a criminal court.
I said believed. I said we are back
Can
to
you
a
not
point where
interrupt me,
women are
given
not
you didn't
being
want me
believed.
interrupting you? Thank you. They have been heard for 6 weeks, and they weren't believed. So it's not a question of...
Especially women will support other women, even if that woman is not being honest. You know, it's kind of like, I got your back, regardless. You know, we have to support each other. We cannot support the patriarchy, so basically, Eve, it's a man's world.
Believed. So it's not a question of women not being heard. They've had their chance to try and prove their case, and so much evidence came out which contradicted what they had to say, including very powerful evidence from the Punisher, who I'm about to interview. But this idea that somehow this is about women being silenced, not being heard and so on, the complete opposite has happened.
I don't care if the women are right or wrong, we have to support other women. You know, especially with this Me Too movement. All the woman has to say is, oh, this guy did something to me a couple of years ago, especially when it's a rich person, right? And more than half the time they would believe the woman, and the man almost has no say. It's her words against his. So if we're just going...
And what you're actually doing is you're saying this jury of 12 Americans didn't know what they were doing or had some weird desire not to listen to women. It seems to me they listened very carefully to the evidence and they've reached a conclusion they didn't believe these women. And you know what, Ariel? Sometimes women lie.
No say. It's her words against his. So if we're just going based on word of mouth, okay, he sexually assaulted me or he abused me or whatever in some kind of way. She said that, and they asked him, he said, I don't know this person, I never did that. Why is her word stronger than his?
I'm not saying, but okay, who's saying that people lie? Women or men? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So we all know that.
So why are you saying it's a throwback to when women weren't believed?
Women are not being believed. So there were 8 men on a jury who, again, I'm saying, because you keep...
For some reason with the Me Too movement, it's always like, okay, she accused you, dude. We don't care. You're gonna go to court, get some lawyers. And what if you're in a situation where you don't have the money to hire lawyers and lawyers? That's another person's life who's potentially being destroyed by the accuser, who 90% of the time is a woman. Most of the time when this abuse case...
can't believe somebody if you not truly are listening to them. Why? Because you're
that's
never
an outrageous slur. You've got no evidence they didn't listen to them.
No man on this panel, all 3 of you, will never be in a position of any woman in any scenario where you can be taken advantage of, where you can be literally
what
abused,
are you talking
and then
about?
not be heard
how many
and
women
be
have taken
believed
advantage
after
of
the
me?
fact.
Happen is a woman accusing a man of abuse. It's never the man accusing the woman of abuse. It's always the other way around. Because most people feel like men are physically stronger than women, so we have to speak up for the little guy, which is the woman who is supposed to be the weakest sex. But when it comes to coercion, you know, it's like a lot of people say men coerce women to have sex with them.
How many women have taken advantage of me?
So I'm just saying there are 3 men who will, and 8 men on that jury who will never know what it's like. And instead of trying to understand the position that a woman could be in, and a woman like Cassie and a woman like the other Jane Does who testified in this matter.
A lot of people say men coerce women to have sex with them. I buy her a nice car. You know, I introduce her to a certain lifestyle to make her want to be with me or give it up, if I could say that. You call it coercion. Oh,
they completely disregarded it.
No,
so,
they didn't. They didn't disregard it. They didn't believe it.
I'll circle back to your question.
They didn't believe it. And what you're doing, you're basically saying no man can ever be on a jury fairly in a case like this. There's no evidence to suggest that whatsoever.
She wouldn't have given it up because I took her on a date and showed her a good time. Now she gave it up. Like, people need to listen to themselves and what they're talking about. A lot of women deal with men who could provide for them. When a woman is young, a lot of times she may go with a guy who she thinks is cute. But the moment they become adults and grown women, no, we're not going for the cute guys anymore. We're going for the guys who could take care of us, who could provide for us, who could meet our every need.
Evidence was the evidence on the evidence that on the evidence that was presented. If I'd been on that jury, I'd have come to the same conclusion.
A man, I would assume a man would.
Actually, most women I know who studied the evidence properly also reached that.
Grown women, no, we're not going for the cute guys anymore. We're going for the guys who could take care of us, who could provide for us, who could meet our every need when we demand it. That becomes what it is, you know? So when people say she was coerced to do certain things.
Conclusion.
And it's some men I talk to who reach the opposite. So I'm not saying any men or all men, because every person is different. But what I'm saying is men in general the men who I know who do understand had women who.
I don't know if I really agree, because let me make an example. I go to work, right? They give me money for my time, right? Do I feel like going to work all the time? No. But I go because I am gonna earn an income, right? Most
experience that like their mothers. So they experience that in tandem with their mothers. So they have a better understanding of how abuse works, how the cycle of abuse works.
Women, they meet a guy. Are they attracted to the guy? He may be cute, he may not be cute. But something about that person keeps them coming back. I may not want to come to work today, but guess why I came? Because I need the money, right? You can say, oh, my job coerced me into coming in so they could take advantage of my time or whatever, right? Or
how women typically go back to their abusers. But outside of that, you asked me about how did this affect my clients and our cases moving forward. It does not. This case had no effect and would have no effect. We have our own bars that we need to meet.
In the same situation with Cassie, you could be like, oh, Diddy coerced her by introducing her to this lavish lifestyle. So to the point where she couldn't say no to whatever he asked for. Well, my job is giving me money, even though when I don't feel like coming to work. As I'm making this video right now, one of my eyes is swollen. I'm still at work. Right? I didn't call off because I would rather sit at home, but I don't want to lose that money, so I came.
In terms of the preponderance of the evidence that we need to reach in our cases. And we are also glad, just in the same voice with Mrs. Ventura, that Diddy will be going to jail. He has skirted, and for there to be this assertion that Diddy has been this law-abiding citizen who hasn't been through this multiple times
at home, but I don't want to lose that money, so I came. So when people say coercion, I feel like Cassie is a grown woman. She can make her own decision, and she made a decision to mess with Puff Daddy because she potentially loved the lifestyle he offered. She made her decision.
Multiple times before. This is really just the only time he got caught up. So I think all of that will affect him, and we are very happy to see him be convicted. We are very happy to see what type of jail time he faces, and we are more excited to litigate our cases against him.
So in this situation, who is really the winner here? Who would you rather be? Honestly, I'm a man, but if I could pick a position between Cassie and Diddy, Cass is the victor, in the sense of she got the $20 million settlement.
Final word to you, Bruce, just quickly.
The women's cases were heard. They had to withstand scrutiny. The jury, that included women, were unanimous in their rejection of their story. Simple as that. And he is going to get some significant prison time, and he's already done significant jail time. So
I'm not sure if justice was served. Most people feel like he should be spending more time, or he should probably.
Yeah.
Hopefully he engages in other behavior, not so risky.
Yeah, I agree. Panel, thank you
if
all.
numbers don't lie, it's 30. Let me say this.
Yeah, Matthew,
if numbers don't lie, it was 36-0. 36-0 in the counts in which
he go to jail for the rest of his life, or like the media. I don't know what they would rather see. I think they need to have a poll out there to see how much people actually love the fact that he's found not guilty compared to how many people really want to see him spend the rest of his
women jurors and the male jurors were asked, do you believe what Cassie and Jane Doe say? 36-0 said we do not believe him.
Yep. Which
Numbers
is pretty,
don't lie.
pretty overwhelming, you might think. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Well, Young Jock and Sammy the Bull are coming up momentarily. But
his life is in jail. I want to know what that number would be. But let me know what you think about this video. If you like it, feel free to share. Thanks for watching.